that Jesus is not just a good man. He's not just the anointed one, though they thought that he was, but this is something that you've never seen before. This is a glory that the world has yet to behold, and he allowed Peter to be a part of that moment. Was that the most powerful interaction? Maybe it was the moment where Jesus asked Peter, "Who do you say that I am?" And when Peter responds, he receives a new name, because at the end of the day, Jesus tells him that this revelation is what I'm going to build my church on, and flesh and blood did not reveal this to you. Peter and Jesus had a thing. I like Peter, and not just because they say he had a cussing spirit on him, because I am delivered. And not just because he cut the ear off, because I too am delivered. One of my favorite moments, I think perhaps the most powerful moment between Jesus and Peter, is in John 13. Though there are other moments in the Synoptic Gospel that also covers it. This moment in John 13 sticks out in my mind because it is the end of the Last Supper. And Jesus has made clear his journey toward the cross. They have had the first communion. And I imagine when I tried to depict what it was like to be in that room, that there was a real scene. And I think the most powerful interaction that we see between Jesus and Peter takes place when Peter asked in John 13 whether or not he could follow Jesus where he was headed. I didn't give them this scripture, but I want to read it to you. This to me is the most powerful interaction, because this is the moment in which Jesus tells Peter something about himself that he did not know he was capable of. This is the moment where Jesus gives Peter insight about Peter that Peter himself doesn't even know exist. We love these moments where Jesus sees us as greater than we see ourselves, where our future and our destiny and our gifts and talents are more like I have integrity, like you can count on me. This is the most powerful interaction, because Peter thinks highly of himself as a disciple. He sees himself as one who can easily follow Jesus no matter where he goes. I don't care how dark the road is going to be. I can be with you. And yet Jesus says that you cannot live up to your own intention. Yeah. Because who we intend to be and the impact of who we actually are sometimes have distance. Your intention and your impact. We are responsible just as much for our intention as we are for our impact. So it doesn't fully matter what you mean if what you mean didn't come out in the way that you delivered it. Which is difficult for us to comprehend, because yes, you cannot control the way that a person experiences you, and yes, they need to do their own work, but that does not give us license to just do and say whatever we want to say. Well, I didn't mean it that way. If they took it that way, that's on them. No. You are responsible for making sure that the way that I impacted you, the way that I said it, that I can stand by it in my intentions and in the presence of God. I am responsible for making sure that my intention and my impact align. Which is why relationships become so challenging for us. Not just our relationship with Jesus, but also our relationships with others. Because there's a certain level of humility required for us to make sure that our intentions are constantly aligning with our impact as much as possible. When we're parenting, I like that. When we're loving on one another, I have a responsibility to make sure that this all aligns, because I recognize that in this season of my life, in the influence that God has given me. And everyone, if you know one person you have influence, that influence could be the very thing that makes or breaks who God is calling them to be. I am responsible for my impact because I never want to say or do anything that robs you from becoming who God has called you to be. I recognize that when you recognize that you have been the villain in somebody's story, it changes. Everyone has been the victim. And we can shout all day about who did you wrong. But if we were really honest, there are some of us who have been the villain in other people's story, and not because I meant to, but because I was so blind to the way that my words come out. I was so blind to my own brokenness that I hurt you in the process. When you become aware that I can sometimes act in a way that even I don't agree with, it makes you listen differently when somewhere everyone is saying the same thing, that you don't know how to talk to people. Maybe it's nothing wrong with their ears. Maybe it's nothing wrong with your mouth.
Ganti boleh. Masih ada demo.
And you mean well, but you're not always doing well. I think that Paul unpacks this in great length in Romans 7. He says,